40 hours. But if you don't have overtime, don't get into this. It's too messy. The workers hate it, and it's hard to administer. Another thing is that you cannot prorate the weekly salary. So if that worker only worked 32 hours that week, you still get the weekly salary. If you only work 24 hours that week, you still get the weekly salary. So it's the weekly salary, okay? And if they work more than 40, you divide, but it's the weekly salary, week in and week out. So it's not for everybody. It's for workers who are regularly working overtime as a way of cutting the cost of the overtime. And finally, you have to check state law. California prohibits using the fluctuating work week. I believe Pennsylvania prohibits it. There's one other state. So just check your states to make sure that fluctuating work week is permitted. It's a thing to consider. It's certainly on the table. And if you're giving a presentation to the college president or to the finance department, you'd have to put on the table that you looked at the fluctuating work week method of calculating the overtime and you decided against it because it's too complicated, the workers won't like it. And the other problem you're going to have is if you have hourly workers that you pay times 1.5, these reclassified people, hey, what's up with me? So you're going to have to change everybody, and workers now who are expecting to get 1.5 are now only going to get 1/2. So remember, it applies to workers who get a salary, not hourly workers. Workers who get a salary. You take that salary and you divide it each week by the number of hours they work. You get a number. That's their rate. You multiply that number by 1/2 times the overtime hours worked. And that's what you owe for the overtime. Question?
But you just said that they regularly work overtime. Most of our hourlies are on a schedule and are managed to a normal work week. Only during certain seasonals or holidays do you see that overtime exposure. So,
give me an example. I'm not sure I understand.
Your maintenance department is all hourly.
Okay.
Campus safety is all hourly.
Okay.
A lot of your office clerical administrative is all hourly. They may work overtime during peak registration periods, but otherwise they're not going to work overtime. We pay them overtime.
Of course, and you have to. I'm not talking. Remember, I'm not talking about hourly workers.
Right.
I'm talking about non-exempt salaried workers.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they regularly work overtime. That would be the condition that
Well,
we're setting.
Yes.
But you said they're maintenance. In order to work hourly, you have to be told this is your hourly rate. In order to be paid salary on a fluctuating work week, they have to get the same salary week in and week out if they showed up 2 days that week. That's not true of your maintenance people, right? Okay, so they're not part of this fluctuating work week. The only people that are part of the fluctuating work week are people that you're willing to take a risk because they work so much overtime, it's expensive, that they'll get the same salary week in and week out for all the hours they work. And in those weeks in which they work more than 40, you divide their weekly salary by the hours they work just that week. Times 1/2 and times the hour. I'm not saying it's easy. Call Naveen or I, or go on the website and look up fluctuating work week. And I'm not saying it's for everybody. But if you have a lot of people in your university that work a lot of overtime, and you're now, but they're currently called exempt, and you're going to have to reclassify them, it's something to consider. I would consider it, at least look at the number. Look at the savings by doing this.
Can you elaborate about like the budget neutral way of looking at how to reclassify someone?
So when the DOL came out with its new regs, it acknowledged that it would be okay for you to re-jimmy the salary of somebody who regularly worked overtime so that you had what they call a cost-neutral solution to resolving this matter. I think you have a slide on that.
Yep.
It's near the end, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that. So the first example I have is Allie, the assistant athletic trainer. We don't really know what she does, but we know she earns less than $47,000, so she's going to have to be paid hourly. Right now she's getting a salary of $31,200 a year for working a 40-hour work week. And this week she happened to work a little bit of overtime. So how would we figure out how much overtime she's owed? This would be a regular calculation of figuring out what her weekly salary is. It's $600 a week. We know she worked 40 hours for a regular week, so her regular rate would be $15 an hour. And for her weekly salary, to figure out how much extra time she's owed for the 5 hours that she worked overtime. You have to take the $15 an hour regular rate, multiply that by time and a half, not the half time that Ellen was talking about, and then you get the balance. So you just pay her a little bit of extra for the 5 hours she worked that week. So that's a relatively simple way of doing it. The second example we have is if her salary is meant to cover a 50-hour work week, then when she works a normal work week, she works 50 hours. So she's always entitled to at least 5 hours of overtime. The thing about calculating overtime is you have to calculate it on a week-by-week basis. So if they actually end up working more or less than they're paid for, then you have to make adjustments accordingly. So in this example, for a regular week, she worked 50 hours. She had the same $600 a week weekly salary. Her regular rate is $12 an hour. For the overtime she's owed, she's already paid for the first 5 hours of overtime that she's supposed to work. Sorry, it was 5 hours? No, the first 10 hours of overtime, her salary is meant to cover that. So she only is owed a half for that extra time that she works. So in a regular week, she'd be paid $660 for her salary plus her overtime.
By the way, on this example, you have to have some kind of designation in the job description, in the hire letter, or the offer letter, that she's getting this salary for 50 hours. You can't come up with it like yesterday. You have to say, this is what you're getting your salary for, 50 hours. You're expected to work 50 hours every single week. And in fact, she does work 50. If in fact it points out she worked 40 hours regularly, she got that 50-hour salary, you can't come up with, jutting and lately won't do it.
Yeah, you can't back into it. You have to, keep track of her time, make sure that she is actually working that, and then check every week to see if the amount she's being paid is correct. So whether or not you want to actually account for a 50-hour work week will depend on her job.
Well, I think it will depend on the evidence.
Right.
If in fact you wrote her a letter and said this is for 50 hours, perfectly okay. But if you didn't, then you'll have to look at what do you have to say that was 50 hours.
Well, let's carry it one more step of using this example. I mean, at least I was hoping that you would interpret an athletic trainer who is a certified athletic trainer with an advanced degree as a medical professional. That's the point of view.
Stop. I would hope so too. But the only problem is they have to make the 47,476, and here's the problem. If that's too high for you, you're going to have to reclassify it.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, oh yeah, I understand.
Oh, well, I'm not bringing you good news. I just said that. That's my job. Oh, forget about it.
But the second part.
Yeah, she's going to make it 55 in just a second. I know that's where you're going, right?
Yeah.
Let's assume she works 55.
But
No, go. Okay.
for 7 months of the year, that person is going to have a 65-hour work week. And for the balance of the 12 months, it's a 40-hour work week. Now what do you do?
Pay overtime. You have no choice. Absolutely no choice. Sorry. I can't help you there. Well, because the reason I can't help you there is that the FLSA is a work week to work week salary. And right in the regs it says you can't borrow from next week's time. So if they don't even let you borrow from next, so for example, you work 60 in 1 week and 30 in the other, or whatever it is, they don't let you borrow. They say you have to look at each work week. So if they don't let you borrow from one work week to another, how are they going to let you borrow from season to season? Way in the back, though, lady in the first.
Yeah, you don't forget that you don't have to employ everybody for 12 months. If it's 913 a week, and there are some
Absolutely.
that could work in a 12 or 11 month.
You may have, and I will agree, at the very end of this presentation, I'm going to read some quotes about people saying these new regs are going to affect higher ed, and higher ed's going to have to relook at how they hire people. Are they going to hire them 10 months? Are they going to hire them 9 months? Are they going to hire them 12 months? You are, as a result of this new rule, going to have to think through how you are paying people. I think thank you for bringing that to our attention, because that's absolutely right. Yep, lady in front of me.
And you may be getting to this in a minute, but it's like with an athletic trainer, if they are going to an away game, when does their clock start? Does their clock start when they get on the bus, or does their clock start when the team begins their warm-up and they're doing pre-game treatments?
This is actually a good time to bring it up, because we are getting close to that portion of the presentation. What is a regular working schedule? If they're not going up to a game, what are their hours in the office for the week? Is it like from 9 to 5, let's say?
It varies, no,
Depends on what coaches college practice.
yeah.
Depends on the practice and see. What about in season? What time do they get to work usually?
They might have a 6 a.m. treatment, but then they also may have practice not until 7 in that evening.
So I
It
mean,
just
I think
depends.
the problem is, that's a great segue into, this is what this new rule means now with respect to record keeping. Your record keeping system is going to have to change. They're going to, if you have to reclassify them, because even though they could meet the professional exemption, 47 is too high for the university, can't do it, right? Then they're going to have to do a timesheet in which they put down the hours they work.
And so what?
And they, just on the travel time itself, if the travel is occurring all in one day, you're not going to another city or another town, it's all in one day, then when they get in the car, they put the start time, when they get in the car, come home, they put the end time. Now, you can have rules to say, when traveling during the work week, we don't want you to work more than 40 hours, so please, come and see your supervisor, cut back on the number of people you see. I mean, that's what you can do if you choose, is that you can say, we as a university want it to be 40 hours as much as possible. We understand, I understand, I'm just saying.
The question is, on a Saturday, if the trainers and the coaches are working all week, Sunday through Friday, we're going to Brevard on Saturday, and we leave at 8 a.m., and they get in the